being official. So hi everyone, welcome to the WeDoWind launch webinar. So the idea is that you're going to find out how to start sharing data now. The idea of this webinar is that first of all, I'm going to give you a quick presentation to introduce you to the concept of WeDoWind. And then we're going to have some reports from some past or existing participants who are going to tell you about their experience. And then hopefully we're going to have some time for some questions and some discussion. So maybe you've got the audience, you've got some ideas about what you want to do and you want to ask if it's feasible or how to do it. Maybe you've got some ideas about how we can improve what we're doing. And then right at the end, I just want to tell you about this call we've got for the advisory board. So as I said at the beginning, I can't see your faces right now because I've only got one screen in this room. So please shout out if you need anything. And I will try to respond. Otherwise, I'm going to talk for 20 minutes without stopping. Does anybody have anything they want to know or ask right now before I start speaking? Everybody happy? Nice to see some faces, people that I met in Wind Europe, Pete and Greg and other people. Okay, so just about who we are. So WeDoWind was founded by my Wind Energy Innovation Division at OST. OST is the Eastern Switzerland University of Applied Sciences. The OST means East in German. And I'm also president of the Swiss Wind Energy R&D Network, so it also has some connection to that network. And then Charles Henderson from the Enter Alliance and Stacker Group here in the US was also co-founder together with me. But the project is actually owned and run by my university. The WeDoWind is actually a framework for creating mutually beneficial collaborations. So the idea is don't just put some data on the internet and hope people will use it, but actually think about how can people mutually benefit from using it. So we want to bring together people, data, and solutions. We do this by this idea of challenges. So imagine there's lots of people with data. So I'm going to call those asset owners. So let's say wind farm owners, but also measurement system developers. They have a load of data basically about their asset. But actually what they want is that they want to know, they want to use the best state-of-the-art tools or models for improving their assets, right? And on the other hand, you've got researchers or model developers, data scientists who are literally desperate for real data so they can train their models. The idea of this mutual benefit is that we create a win-win situation where the people desperate for the data get the data, the people with the data provide data because they want to get some solutions. And the solutions aren't just a solution with your local university. It's a diverse group of people from all over the world because anyone can take part from all over the world. And so the way we create this mutual benefit is on this idea of challenges, which you've probably heard of anyway. We're not the first people to use challenges, but what we want to do is bring all these challenges on the area of wind energy together in one place. So we want to coordinate everything in one place. We want to document all the results in one place so that we learn from each other and that we can build on all the challenges. But it's not specific to wind energy. We've applied it to wind energy so far. That's our area of expertise, but there's no reason not to apply it to any other area. And so how it works, we at the center of this, we actually work quite hard, as the people who already took part probably know. So we design the challenge, we define the goals, we ask the challenge provider what they're actually trying to achieve, we define the rules, we actually get the data onboarded. The data doesn't sit on the platform yet, it's external. So you have to provide the data in a repository and we just create the link to the data. We create other materials such as lectures or training. So we have one space, which Yuding might tell us about in a minute, where where we actually have lectures connected to the challenges so that people taking part can learn about the topic. We also define who we think might participate. And then we move to the second stage, which is called identifying. And we create a public website with a registration form. We do some public webinars to get people interested. We interact with the participants. We can make it accessible to only certain people. So we have one challenge running where the challenge provider wants to check who takes part, or we can have anybody who wants to take part, but we can set that up. We then engage with participants actively. So we send them emails, we send them reminders, we try to get them involved. We also support them with any problems with the data platform, with the platform. And then the third part is the moderating. So we run webinars. So it's not, we don't just throw a challenge out there, we actually guide it. So we have usually monthly webinars, or we have webinars at the beginning, in the middle, at the end, where we actually motivate participants to talk to each other, to share their solutions, to do brainstorming, to actually collaborate in an effective way. We then also document and share the results with everybody, and we create digital discussion channels on the platform related to the webinars that people can talk about, even if they don't make the webinars. We record the webinars, we make them available online. And then the curating part, so we try to make the digital space well curated. So we create every time we have a webinar, we create a summary, we upload the video, we tidy the space, we make sure the rules are being respected. If we see that some participants may want to talk to each other, we bring them together. Then the last part is disseminating. So we communicate the results on social media at regular intervals, but we also coordinate journal or conference papers at the end, or prepare blog articles. We also get feedback from the participants, which we try to use to improve what we're doing, and then make connections to other spaces. So it's happened quite a lot that the different challenges we've had running, somebody's been interested in joining a different one, and then we've connected them to the other one. And so the story is that we basically had this idea in 2020, and we were wondering how to actually get people to work together. We carried out a load of interviews. So we interviewed about 30 people from the industry and asked them about data sharing. And we worked out that a reasonable number of people do actually want to work together and share data. And so we actually had this really good contact with EDPR, who's a large wind farm producer based in Portugal. And we did our first challenge in 2021 with them. And then we got our first solution uploaded from the US, which we were really happy about, because it meant that people actually wanted to engage. And by the end of that project, we had like 8 different solutions, and we wrote a paper about it. And since then, we've been building up. We have 5 or 6 spaces. We have now more than 300 people taking part, and we're hoping just to grow and grow. So what we call the wind energy ecosystem is basically just a collection of all these different challenges on the topic of wind energy and all the people who are taking part. And so, yeah, we have in this ecosystem, we have lots of participants looking at wind energy related things. We have these different challenges, which I already told you about, which are basically allowing challenge providers to receive state-of-the-art solutions from international teams. And the solution developers then get access to these real problems and the real data. So this picture is supposed to be showing how this works. So on the left, you have, at the top left, you have the solution providers. The bottom left, you have the data providers. And they come together in the middle here surrounding a challenge. And then we have these other things like the webinars and the workshops and events and lectures, which kind of enhance that. And then on the right, you end up with new innovations, new learning. The idea is that it's inclusive as well, like anybody can take part. There's no barriers, apart from you need an internet connection and an email address. You don't need to be belonging to a certain organization or have a certain amount of experience. You can take part if you want. And at the end, you have maybe new collaborations, new businesses, new ideas, personal connections, even recruiting. If any of you know Kaggle's main business model is recruiting. So the data scientists who take part are looking for jobs. the companies who are providing the challenges are actually looking for the best people, or even maybe student projects. But at the end of the day, we have solutions to these challenges. So the ecosystem at the moment consists of these 6 spaces. We have one with Cubico, which Charlie Plumley will tell you about in a minute. We have one with Yu Ding at the Texas A&M University, which Yu's also going to tell you about that in a minute. We have one with RTDT, who's a Swiss company, and Imad Abdallah is also here today to tell you about that. The EDP space still exists, but the challenge has finished. The WinG space is just finished, and Daniel Hyde from WinG is going to tell you about that in a minute as well. We also have a couple of spaces which are not data related. So I mentioned this is an experiment, so we're trying to work out how to improve collaboration in general. So the space, well, we had a few, but at the moment we have this one diversity and wind energy science space, because diversity and inclusion is really important for solving complex problems. We've included this space in here, so we have regular webinars and conversations about diversity and inclusion as well. And yeah, so we have some so-called success stories. We wrote a paper. I'll put the links in the chat while the other people are talking in a minute. We wrote a paper about the EDP challenge, where all these different people contributed different solutions, and we compared the solutions to the EDP solution, and we showed that 2 of them were significantly better in terms of how much money they could save. For the WinG challenge, we ended up publishing some best practice data sharing guidelines, because the main result of that challenge was that we learned how to prepare data for comparing models. Because people don't share and compare very much, there's not very much knowledge about how to do that. And so we're hoping to contribute to that with these data sharing guidelines. We're also about to publish a paper based on my presentation at Wind Europe a couple of weeks ago, which is also just, it actually analyzes the participant surveys of these two papers, and it comes up with some suggestions about how to improve WeDoWind in the future, but also improve data sharing in general in the industry. That's not published yet, it's just underway. And so the data sharing recommendations we came up with based on this analysis were, for example, important to think of data and knowledge on a platform, on a spectrum. So it's not black and white. Lots of people just say yes or no, or usually they say no. But actually there's a spectrum between not sharing anything and sharing something. But also our recommendation is to create these type of win-win situations I talked about. The other learning we have is that it's important to agree upon data and metadata standards. I can talk about that topic for another hour. If anyone's interested, let me know. And also don't reinvent the wheel. So I think sharing and publishing your non-critical code is something that would really help the industry. I think a couple of participants might mention that later. And then also, as I said before, I think to get real innovation, we need to make this space inclusive and diverse. This page, I'm not going to go into it in detail, it's a bit too much information, but this is actually the result of the paper, the WinG challenge paper. I'll put the link in the chat, which is basically just giving 7 different guidelines or recommendations about how to deal with sharing data. So for example, you can normalize some of the data to maintain confidentiality, but probably turning faults into binary codes could lead to some problems with comparing models. So this is actually what happened in the challenge. We maybe anonymized the data a little bit too much, which didn't allow the code to be the models to work very well. But we can get into that when we have the reports from the participants in a minute as well. And so what it looks like when you take part, you get access to a digital space, which kind of looks like this. So you see, for example, this is a Cubico space. You can filter different posts, you can read the challenge, you can comment on it, you can make your own document, you can upload your solution, you can make videos, you can insert links. And then this is just a summary of the different benefits. So again, this is just sort of summarizing this mutual benefit. On the left-hand side, you have the problem solvers who basically get access to data, they get new insights, they get benchmarking opportunities, they get new ideas, they build their network, they even learn new things, and also it's inclusive to anyone who wants to take part. And then on the right, the challenge providers, they get diverse state-of-the-art solutions to their challenge, and they get quick access to knowledge. I think one of the difficulties with companies is that it's very difficult to keep track of what state-of-the-art is, really. You go to a conference, you try to read some papers, but it's not very accessible. You get access to top talent and students. You can also market your brand and get visibility through different journals and presentations. And then just about your reputation, you can get known as an early adopter of innovation. And just about the uniqueness, so probably maybe you're thinking, okay, this challenge idea is not really new. That's the feedback we've had as well before. But just having everything centralized, all the knowledge and all the learnings is in a specific sector is new. So the idea is that all the wind energy people come to the wind energy ecosystem. When we've built it up in a different area, maybe all the PV people come to the PV ecosystem. And so it's supposed to provide this real incentive to actually work together rather than just talk about working together. And then just a little bit about our plans for the future. So we want to spend this year building up success stories. We have various challenges running. We have various in the pipeline. And then we want to work out how to scale up. So my university providing people power to help people solve these challenges is not particularly scalable. It's quite people intensive. So we're trying to work out a way of actually scaling it up, and then also how to become sustainable. So we're not trying to make money, but we need to cover our costs. And so we're thinking about different types of business models for doing that. For example, we're trying to work out how to integrate teaching resources together with Texas A&M. We're actually starting an internship program in the summer with the University of Strathclyde, where the interns work together on a WeDoWind challenge. We're working on sharing data from multiple research turbines at the European Academy of Wind Energy. We're actually trying to include fair data and code guidelines. We've got a Research Data Alliance grant currently running where, instead of just providing us with data, we actually want to share the data in an easy, accessible way. We also want to offer tools and services to make this data more available. And we have a proposal running for a European Open Science Cloud funding possibility. And then, as I said before, we're trying to get some money from foundations to build up some sustainable model. And we're going to be asking for donations from an advisory board as well. So yeah, I'm on exactly 8:20, which I'm quite impressed by. Before we jump to the reports from participants, there will be a Q&A session afterwards, but is there anything really important that somebody wants to ask or know? Is there something that wasn't very clear? Everyone seems happy for now. Okay, so let's move on to the reports from participants. So we've got here with us today. Thank you very much to everyone, to all 8 of you who are here for taking time. So we have 4 challenge providers and we have 4 solution providers. So we're going to do the challenge providers first. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I already named the challenge providers. And the solution providers, we've got Arthur Girard, we've got Malcolm Heath, we've got Yoshi, although I didn't know if Yoshi's actually here, Sakagami, and we've got Frank Senka. Yes. Oh, you are here. Good, good, good.
My camera is not working.
Oh, your camera's not working. Okay, no worries. I've just put your slides you send me, so I've got 1 slide per person. I've integrated all of them except for Charlie's, but Charlie, I guess you just speak. And I'm just going to ask you to speak for 2 to 3 minutes. Feel free to honestly share your experience, how it was, why you like it. If you've got suggestions for improvements, obviously we're happy to take them as well. I'm not trying to just sell the nice parts of it. I'm trying to sort of show this is an experiment and this is what we're trying to improve, and I'm trying to motivate people to join. this experiment so we don't have to pretend that everything is perfect. Yeah, so I'll go to the first speaker and we'll just go through, and then at the end we'll have a Q&A. So I think you're the first one up.
Okay. So, okay, right. So the slides. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yuding. I'm a faculty member at the Texas A&M University, but I'm relocating pretty soon. I'm going to join the Georgia Tech faculty in a couple of months. And so our experience with WeDoWind platform, we initially was participant in a number of the activities, noticeably the Task 43 metadata challenge, and as well as the EDP 2021 turbine fault diagnosis. That was primarily, participate through my PhD student, and but I was working with her offline, and she was the interface person and also co-author of the paper Sarah just mentioned. For the big part of this year, I provided the power curve modeling challenge, and which is still ongoing. And so I would like to say a few words about this particular challenge. I saw Arthur and Malcolm, which are the two participants in this challenge. And so we had about 14 teams registered in the challenge, and so far there's 5 of the teams contribute different kind of solutions. And because this particular semester, I also teach a machine learning class at Texas A&M University. So I was recording my lecture. I upload all the lectures to the WeDoWind platform together with the challenge. That's one of the things Sarah mentioned about the teaching resource leverage, and with the challenge activity. And we started January, and we had a monthly webinar interim presentation in March, and we just had the May monthly webinar on the past Thursday. And so far we had 5 contributing results, and part of that is coming from the student in the class, which those students had very little wind energy experience, but the 2 best results actually come from those students and who are doing the machine learning rather than study wind energy. So I think it's a very interesting interplay between the professionals and those students, which more versed in machine learning part. And I would say, I wouldn't really be able to do this kind of things without the support of the WeDoWind, the platform, and all the logistics support, the publicity, and provided by Sarah and her team. So that is a great benefit, and you meet with people with common interest, amplify your own research outcome, and generate a broader impact. So we are looking forward to the final presentation on the June 14th, and then we go from there. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. All I can say, they must have a good teacher.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your insight on that. Then Charlie, blank slide, speak in front of a blank slide.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry for not providing one, but I'll just, wing it, as they say. So basically, I did a PhD at Strathclyde University 10 years ago or so now, and there was a lot of talk then about getting access to data and it being a real challenge for students and researchers. So I completed my PhD. I then worked for a consultancy. I got to work with lots of data from various companies, but it wasn't mine to share. And one of the things that kind of got to me was the fact that I was developing code and analysis, but that was the IP of the consultancy I was working for. So again, good for my learning and experience, but not something I could then go on to share. I now work for an owner-operator of wind and solar plants at Cubico, and suddenly I've got lots of access to data, 0 time to analyze it myself, but I have been able to share some of that data. So we released data from 2 of our UK wind farms, put it up on Zenodo. But then there was a question about, well, okay, the data's out there. How do we advertise it? How do we get results from the data? How do we benefit from having put our data out there? And I think Sarah got in contact with me and said, well, we've got this space. We've run some previous challenges. Would you be interested in setting up a space to look at open data and analysis? So set up this code space on WeDoWind. I found it really good for bringing a group of people interested in wind data, and for us to kind of develop together and analyze together the data. And one of the challenges we've been running is on operational energy yield analysis. So that's like a key aspect of my job. I get to do a lot of that in-house, but this is a really good opportunity for me to see how other people are running the analysis, compare results, understand what tools are out there, and also to kind of develop that knowledge and the network around it. Obviously, with releasing this data, I also want to see what else can be done with it. So there's an open space to propose your own challenge that we can then run in that space. And in fact, there's going to be a webinar on Wednesday, I think, this week, to go through some of the results that we've already got. I'd say one of the great things about using this space rather than Cubico developing its own space or network to do things is that Sarah does do a great job of kind of organizing the calls, making sure people are doing stuff, chasing people, and naturally building a network that's already there. Yep.
All right, great, thank you. And actually, we do have someone who submitted a solution to the open challenge, which we should discuss on Wednesday as well.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, great, thank you very much. Imad?
Thanks so much. So my name is Imad. I'm a senior scientist at ETH Zurich and a co-founder of RTD-TT Laboratories. We're developing software for structural health monitoring on wind turbines. And part of my research at ETH is that I operate our own research turbine here at ETH. It's a small turbine that we bought a few years ago. And we rigged it, basically. So we have a lot of sensors on it and we accelerometers, strain gauges, and we collect SCADA data from that turbine. And since it's a fairly small turbine, 13-meter rotor diameter and 7 kilowatt rated power, which means I'm free to introduce any kind of faults to the turbines and damage, artificial, which means it's a controlled environment for structural health monitoring. So from that point of view, it's a very invaluable type of machine and data that we're collecting from it. And on top of it, I have all the CAD models, finite element models that we can build on it. So it's a really complete set of measurements and simulation models that are available. So I thought, why not share this data? And similar to Charlie, I thought I can put this data on Zenodo, but probably nobody will ever see it and nobody will ever interact with it in a proper and structured way. So I decided to put a set of small data with Sarah on WeDoWind. Actually, by the way, I've been on WeDoWind from day zero, probably since the start.
You invented the name. You invented the name, actually.
Also. And so I put up a bunch of data sets for normal operation of the turbine, a data set corresponding to an abrupt pitch failure, and another one where we introduced a purposeful aerodynamic imbalance on one of the blades. And we thought, can we diagnose and detect any of these events from acceleration data and strain data and SCADA data that we have collected on the turbine? And the reason why we chose to do it on WeDoWind is because I wanted a structured and methodological approach. I didn't want to put it out there and ask anybody and probably nobody to use this data. So we put it up there and we actually invited people to participate. So it was not completely open, unlike other challenges out there. We purposely put it in a private mode and people needed to be invited in order to participate because we wanted to run this experiment in a controlled manner with people that we know they can participate in a challenge or they can solve the problems at hand. And plus, I didn't have a lot of time actually to be able to manage, let's say, dozens of people at a time. So at the moment, we are approximately 8 people participating in this challenge. And that's a good amount of people to handle and work with. One of my probably only suggestions is to make the platform, the actual website itself, more user-friendly, both for people hosting the competition and for people participating in the competition and providing solutions to it. Otherwise, it's a fairly good experience. The only problem with platforms like this is participants will always fear that they're doing a double job. So they have their day job and they have to participate in a challenge. And that's the challenge by itself, to get people actually to feel that they're doing a work which they really want to do and not being forced into doing it. That's it. Yeah.
Forced by me. Although you'll see some people actually like being forced by me to do stuff.
Yeah, so.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for those comments. Right, so let's move on to Daniel.
Yeah, so I'm Daniel, Chief Product Officer here at Winchi. We're a software as a service provider for renewable energy asset managers, and we provided the Winchi Gearbox Failure Detection Challenge. That's quite a name in itself. So our motivation to submit this challenge was basically to draw inspiration from hopefully various approaches from the participants to our challenge, and in the end to actually improve our methods. And I think interesting what you just said before, right? How sometimes the people with the least experience in a field provide sometimes a new edge, and which could, yeah, then finally end up in the best solutions, right? So that's really cool to hear, really interesting. And basically, this is always what we're looking for, right? New edges to things that we think that we already know. Our experience, it was a great experience, right? We got a lot of different innovative inputs from different approaches, basically what we hoped for. That was great to see. The learnings, mainly for ourselves, is to think about the end before, right? To prepare and also share a validation framework for the different approaches. I think that was our biggest learning for any future potential next challenge. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. By the way, this is also our learning. So it could be something that could be developed together with the challenge providers. Okay, thank you. And then after, so we're now moving on to the solution providers.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone. So my name is Arthur Gerard. I'm a PhD student at ETH Zurich with a background in mechanical engineering and in machine learning. And although my PhD research topic is not directly related to wind energy, I'm participating in the data-driven turbine performance analysis challenge provided by Professor Uding. So you already introduced the challenge. And I was motivated to take part in the WeDoWind challenge to expand my knowledge beyond my current research and also gain hands-on experience in the wind energy sector. So basically, what are my contributions so far? I began by benchmarking various methods for power prediction as proposed by the book of Professor Uding. And then I developed a neural network, and I'm currently exploring a more complex model. And I think what is interesting is that it appears that sometimes more complex models don't always outperform a simpler model in predicting wind turbine output power. So it also helped me. I mean, I think it's also great that because it's kind of forced me to also understand the data at the scale of the wind farm. So I think, yeah, it's really present for me like an opportunity to dive deeper into the wind energy industry, also connect with fellow PhD students and other researchers. And yeah, it also provides me a better understanding of the industrial challenges of the industry. And yeah, so I'm a PhD student and I also have some teaching duties. And I think my experience on the platform also helped me to give practical example to the student, to the bachelor or master student while I'm teaching. So yeah, I would say overall, like it's really cool to take part of the platform. I'm learning something new every time I join a webinar. And yeah, thank you for listening. And I'm here to discuss further during the question.
Thank you for preparing an exactly 2-minute statement. It's good to know about the practical examples for classroom use as well. So thank you for that. Okay, Malcolm.
Great, thank you, Sarah. Yeah, so I'm Malcolm Heath, so I work with DNV. So we're a global consultancy in all kinds of industries, but including engineering, and with a very strong presence in renewable energy and wind energy, where we do advisory services for our customers, so the owners and the operators and the developers of wind farms and wind turbines, and also provide software solutions as well, so SCADA monitoring systems and so on as well. And so I've been taking part. This is my first time working with WeDoWind. We've been taking part in the wind turbine power curve challenge, same one Arthur was just talking about. And it's really interesting for us because this is a challenge on a practical basis. We do this probably literally every day. Somebody in DNV is trying to derive a power curve from SCADA data. So I was very interested to see that's what we could learn about other techniques and so on, and to discuss the technique that we use. So we use it's a pretty much an industry standard approach to creating a power curve, but it's been the same technique has been used for donkey's years. I don't know how long, but a long time. So it was interesting to get the opportunity to talk about that to a kind of a wider group. So we have lots of people within DNV we talk about things, but it's not always healthy to just be within your own group. So it's great to have this chance to talk to a wider group of people and get kind of get their feelings and feedback from Professor Ding and so on about that technique, and then also to see how people are working with more modern approaches. So applying machine learning and so on to it, and to see the difference that can make. So for me, it's a chance to understand whether this is an area we should be looking at in more detail and thinking about really using in anger ourselves. So interesting to see the results. So the error is reduced by about 50% by using the machine learning. So definitely food for thought for me from that. So yeah, so I had a really good experience for me to get the feel for this idea of collaborating and sharing and working outside our own bubble. So yeah, it's been a good time. Looking forward to about a month left to go on the challenge. So looking forward to the final result.
All right, great, thank you. By the way, it's also really good to have someone with an industry standard method in the challenge as well, because I think otherwise it has the risk of becoming too academic, right? And so just having this comparison, like how can you improve based on the industry standard, is also really, really useful as well. So thank you for that. All right, Yoshi.
Hi everyone. So I'm from Brazil, and my PhD was in mechanical engineering. My introduction here comes from Sarah invited me to participate to this platform because I use SCADA data from my PhD in 2 wind farms. And so I'm really positive to share data, mostly for SCADA data. And so was nice to have opportunity to have experience with different data sets, different wind farms. So I participated in 2 challenges. One was the EDP, and the other one was the wind fault detection. That was 2 different experiences. In fact, I think the challenge was quite similar, but the interaction, the dynamics of each challenge was different. I don't know how, but it's different kind of people creating different dynamics of this experience, but the 2 experience was really great. So this international collaboration, I think, is very positive for this platform, and compare the results was very nice, very worth for my experience, understand how not just my method works, but compare with other methods was really great. So you have some ideas more ideas of how to improve your own method. I think one very challenge for conducting these challenges is SADA have incredible patience to handle different participants with different experience. It's not easy to lead in this challenge. I can see how difficult was for her to deal this. I think for other challenge has to be aware that how difficult it is to put everybody together and work together. This very difficult challenge for this, and I think she did very well for this. It's not easy. I think mostly because people have a lot of work to do outside. You do this as you can do for your time. So that's one difficult for all the participants. I think one meeting for a month, it was really good time interaction for each challenge, and the motivation for developing the manuscript and put all the results together. I think is very important to conclude each challenge. So, and I think for suggestion is just we did not have too much a long period of data set to have more solid conclusions for each challenge. So it's great for, and yes, of course, it's a step forward to improve. And so far, I think the platform is really great, and there are a lot of opportunities and improvements to do, and I think you have successful to do in the future. So that's it.
All right, great, thank you very much. Last but not least, definitely not least, Frank.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm Frank Sehnke. I'm a machine learner at the ZSW in Germany. So it's the Center for Solar Energy and Hydrogen Research. And we use machine learning for over 30 years now in the renewable energy space. And we do commercial wind power forecasts and PV power forecasts for over 10 years now. And in a shorter time, we are in the business of performance monitoring and predictive maintenance. So what we wanted to see or what we wanted to get from the challenge was if we can apply our methods that we already used for, let's say, icing and stuff like that for gearbox failures. And also we were curious what other researchers are doing to tackle this kind of problem. So what was a bit unexpected was that we got in addition a friendly competition with shared results and even a paper that we wrote up together, and also some new insights in what you can do with not only machine learning, but also statistics and regular heuristics to tackle such problems. So we learned a lot, and I think it's a really good place to bring these challenge providers and machine learners and other people together. So it's a win-win. I agree with that. Thanks.
All right, it's a good thing to end with. Good note to end on, thank you. All right, so now we come to the part where we would like to ask the audience if they want to ask something, or any of the participants who want to say anything more they didn't have time for. So let's go for audience questions first. Feel free to just put your hand up using the hand, and then we can avoid everyone talking at the same time. Anyone want to ask anything? All right, Malcolm.
Hi, Sarah. Yeah, I was just wondering what kind of what you have in the pipeline. If you got any more challenges lined up.
Yeah. So the one that I mentioned, that we've got a load of people running research wind turbines in the European Academy of Wind Energy. The European Academy of Wind Energy is the organisation which has got all the wind energy research universities in it, and they try to do research and teaching, sort of to coordinate everything that's going on. It's not just Europe, actually. They've got quite a lot of worldwide members. And there's about 10 research wind turbines. Maybe we've got about 5 or 6 of them involved. And we're going to have a space where all this data has been made available, and then we're going to have a load of challenges trying to utilize this data. This is what I mentioned before. We're hoping to get some funding from the EU to actually pay someone to take time to prepare the data. Because one of the reasons why people don't provide data, apart from the fact they're kind of scared to do so, is just because they don't have time to prepare it in a way that people can understand, right? And so that's what we want to work on. We want to work on how can we do that? Can we do that in some sort of standardized, easy way? Can we even develop an easy tool to do that in the future? So we're working on that. Probably get the data and the challenges started around autumn time. And then we're also, we've got this internship which we're going to start in the summer, which is basically bringing together a couple of interns from my university and from Strathclyde with Cubico, with Charlie, to try to solve some stuff with their data. And then, I've got a load of others which I can't really talk about, which haven't been agreed on yet, but several larger companies who have at least expressed interest in running a challenge. But I have to say the main challenges at the moment is, I guess you all got the impression, or you all realise that it's not just me, it's also people in my team, and it's quite a labour intensive thing that we're doing. So trying to get some support, some money, or to try to get a scalable concept that we can actually, get other people trained up to do basically what I'm doing, but to try to get some funding from somewhere to actually be able to run it sustainably is kind of our main challenge at the moment.
I bet, yeah.
Anyone else want to ask anything?
Maybe a quick question, just a general reflection on, for all the people providing models and algorithms and solutions, what are their thoughts in terms of course, this is an open platform, open source platform, but what are their thoughts in terms of licenses? They're providing their own brain power to others. Do they have any feedback? Are they okay with whatever is happening there on the platform? Are they willing to share everything openly? MIT license or whatever license, or should WeDoWind enforce any kind of licensing on the platform itself? For the sake of the data providers and for the solution providers, for their protection or for whatever reason thereafter. Or maybe that's something that the WeDoWind platform should think about in the future.
Okay, you might want to answer that.
I cannot answer on behalf of WeDoWind, but for ourselves, because we're from academia, so what we do is primarily all open. So when I wrote the book, Data Science for Wind Energy, the data used over there is being shared publicly, and the code used, most of them are shared publicly. We coded not all the methods, but many of the methods in the R and Python package, and they are shared. The use is pretty much free, and for the power curve modeling part, and bunch of the methods already been coded. There's some newer method we going to take the time with the permission of the original contributor to code it into that software package, which is open source. I think as long as you use those kind of open source from the academia point of view, it's entirely free. There's not licenses, MIT license. On the other hand, if there's a future follow-up, there's the maintenance of this kind of things. You want to have more specialized the software, everything. I think we're going to have individual discussion probably for a kind of a research project contracted between whoever the solution need and the university research team and so forth.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to say anything about that question?
I can briefly comment on the data that we've provided. That's under Creative Commons license, so you can do anything with it as long as it's attributed to Cubico if you publish something. On an individual basis, personal level, I think it's much better if basically us as individuals, we do things open source and make it so that it's accessible to everyone. And you'll find this advantageous if you ever move job, because otherwise you effectively lose the IP that you developed for that company. So if you can convince your company or research body or whatever it is to allow you to open source it, I think long term that benefits yourself, basically.
Indeed. Thank you.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, I think I would say, sorry, just going from the DNV angle, I would say for myself, yeah, I've been very kind of nervous about this. And I think that's why we decided to limit ourselves to kind of the industry standard method on this, and didn't launch into developing a fresh set of code for it. I think partly, I'm not sure what the company would have concluded if we're going to spend a long time, I'm sure, talking about it with our team managers to try and share anything really innovative. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know really what the best solution is, I guess, but yeah, I've got to say it has been a sort of an issue in the back of my mind, certainly. It has constrained what we've done.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard this before from companies. Actually, a couple of people have suggested to me, like, companies who are providing solutions rather than researchers who are providing solutions have said that they would actually pay to not have to be open. So you're basically paying a premium to not have to share, but still get access to the results. But I'm not sure how well that works, because at the moment, I mean, it's all free now, so you're basically just not providing. Like, if we had a requirement that you had to provide your code or something, and then if you don't provide your code, you have to pay more, you probably just wouldn't take part. I don't know. So that's what I mean about trying to work out also, let's say, that the sustaining business model actually gets very tricky because at the end of the day, the mission is to improve sharing, right? So you want to remove the barriers that people have. So if you start, okay, maybe there's some things that people would pay for, but they wouldn't. Yeah, they would pay for to do because they think it's valuable, but that's what we have to try to work out. So.
Yeah, tricky. I would think for the right data, I think probably we'd be open to paying for it, but it does become a whole different world in terms of what sense we're actually collaborating. We're not really sharing,
But one other way to do it is that let's say the paid challenges, like let's say there's some really high value data that people are paying for. That's the exception. So there's a small number of things which people pay for, which then are quite expensive, which then actually fund the rest of it, which is open. But yeah, so we're totally open to inputs and ideas about how to make it more sustainable. And actually, that's kind of the idea of this advisory board call, which maybe I can just quickly smoothly transition to, because I see that we've got 4 minutes left. So let me just share my screen again. If you go to the website, you'll see there's actually now a page that we've made called the advisory board. And actually the idea is just to say, okay, do you actually share this passion that we have for improving data sharing? And do you believe that everybody should be able to contribute? Are you fed up with just talking and not seeing anybody doing anything? Do you want to create these success stories, or do you have experience on creating or participating in such sharing activities? And so we're inviting you to basically take part in join the advisory board. And we're going to have a biannual meeting where we actually discuss things like this, and we ask for contributions, actually shaping the future of WeDoWind with us. And then we would put your logo on the website and increase your visibility. And we're asking for a donation to do this, because again, we don't want to block its development. So you can join the advisory board without paying, but we're asking for donations just to help. Even a few thousand would help me pay someone in my team to help make this better, or even improve the data. The digital platform isn't optimal. We haven't got a 20-person team developing it and making it professional, and so any contribution could obviously be used to improve it. So I can put that link in the chat as well, and encourage you to all, if you're interested in WeDoWind in general, to participate in that. So yeah, that was a good transition to the end statement. We've got 2 minutes left. Does anyone want to say or ask anything in the last minute before we close? All right, otherwise I just encourage you to all start sharing data now. So if you want to start a challenge, you want to contribute to a challenge on the website, you can, let me just maybe quickly share the website again and show you how to sign up. So if you go to use cases, you've basically got the description of the wind energy part. And so you see you can sign up as a challenge provider or a solution provider. So if you go down, if you go to the left here, you're basically contacting me. So if you actually want to start a challenge, the process at the moment is just contact me. So you can either click on there or just write me an email. But if you actually want to solve problems and get access to data, if you click on here, you actually get the sign-up form for the WeDoWind platform. So if you fill that one out, you can choose the different spaces you want to sign up for. The spaces are actually all described here. Each one has got a separate description. And so you can get involved in either of those ways. But if anything is not clear, just get in touch with me. All right, so thank you again to the speakers, to the challenge providers and the solution providers for, first of all, for your time today, but also just generally for, I know everything you've contributed has been sort of extra time beyond your everyday work. And so, yeah, let's keep going together. And if there's anything you want to contribute to or suggest to make any improvements, we're completely open. And yeah, it'd be good to work with you all in the future. So thank you.
Thank you.
See you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.